First impressions can make or break the experience for new community members. They can either immediately instill a strong sense of belonging or leave a lasting negative impression, with new members feeling unacknowledged. But keeping up with new member welcomes can be exceptionally challenging, especially with a small team or a rapidly scaling community. That's why we created the Onboarding Journey Workflow. This powerful workflow allows you to automate the onboarding process, making welcoming new community members a breeze. Let's walk through how we can leverage the incredibly time-saving and scale-enabling power of the Onboarding Journey Workflow. By default, our trigger is set to activate when a new member joins our Slack community. If we have multiple Slack workspaces set up in Common Room, we can easily switch between them in the dropdown. Now let's look at our first set of conditions. We have a wait condition and a continue as specific filters apply condition. Let's start with our wait condition. This allows us to set a specific time delay after the trigger has been activated. We can set this delay in minutes, days, or months. Or we can turn off this time delay, or any other logic model for that matter, altogether. For this onboarding journey, let's keep the time delay active. The next condition, continue if specific filters apply, allows us to get extraordinarily focused as to which members will receive this welcome message. This can be incredibly powerful, especially if you'd like to customize your message for specific types of members entering your Slack community. For example, perhaps we want to generate a tailored message welcoming members that are pioneers from organizations generating 100 million plus in annual revenue. Now it's time to set up our action. For the onboarding journey workflow, the default action is to send a DM to a new Slack community member. First, you need to select which Slack account you'd like to send a DM from. If you have multiple accounts, you can use the dropdown to select a specific account. Next, click on the field below to expand, and from here, you can compose your message. Now, let's make this more personalized by using the mention button to insert the recipient's Slack username into our message. With our welcome message complete, let's click Preview. From here, we can see exactly how our message will look to our recipient in Slack. If we'd like, we can also send a test message to Slack. Keep in mind that test messages will appear in Slack in the App section, sent by the Common Room bot. But the real message sent to members once the workflow is live will appear as if they have been sent by your personal Slack account. Now, if we find our message needs some additional work after previewing and testing, we can easily go back and edit it. If our message looks good and we've tested it successfully, we can now click Save. Finally, we can add a custom messaging window. This can be especially useful if you manage an international community. At this point, you may be thinking, hey, we've got our trigger, conditions, and actions set up, but I'm seeing even more conditions and another action module below. Haven't we done enough to successfully send an automated welcome message to new community members? The answer is yes. At this point, our welcome message is good to go, but we've added these additional conditions and action into this workflow template to allow you to re-engage inactive members after the initial welcome message is sent. Perhaps we want to send a check-in message to members in this workflow after they've received the initial welcome message. These additional conditions and actions can serve as a follow-up nudge to help activate these new and dormant community members. Of course, if you'd like to omit these follow-up conditions and action, you can simply toggle them off. But let's go ahead and set up this re-engagement message to make sure we're putting our best foot forward in making our new community members feel welcomed. Let's start with our wait condition and set it for 15 days. Next, let's take a look at the condition below. This condition will check to see if a member included in this onboarding journey has been inactive in the community since the start of the workflow. If a member is determined to be inactive, then the following action, a custom Slack DM, will be sent to them. We want to make sure that this action is turned on. Otherwise, all members in this workflow will be sent an additional message 15 days after the initial welcome message, even if they're not inactive. Finally, let's wrap this up by configuring our action. As we've already learned, we'll select the Slack account from which we'd like to send a DM. Next, we'll open the message composer to create our personalized re-engagement message. We'll preview our message, hit save, and add a custom messaging window if desired. Now that we've completed our onboarding journey workflow, let's go ahead and save it. From here, we may choose whether or not to turn on our workflow. If we decide not to, we can always turn it on later. We can also quickly return to the workflow builder for edits. This workflow looks good as it is, so I'll save it. You'll be directed to the new workflow dashboard where you can check in on the performance and status of your workflow once members are enrolled.